This is Signal Over Noise, where we look at what the science actually says.
I want you to picture a scenario that I think we have all been in. You have just absolutely crushed a workout. Maybe it's a heavy squat session, maybe a long threshold run, but you are done. You are exhausted, your muscles are throbbing.
Oh, yeah.
And you just know that tomorrow morning, getting out of bed is going to be a construction project.
Yeah.
So being the responsible, health-conscious person you are, you immediately go into recovery mode.
Right. You grab the frozen peas or you jump in the expensive cold plunge. You blend up a massive smoothie packed with, high-dose vitamin C and antioxidants to fight the toxins.
And maybe you even pop a couple of Ibuprofen to head off the inflammation before it even starts.
Exactly. Yeah. It feels like the smart thing to do.
It feels like optimization, like you're hacking your recovery. But here is where it gets really disorienting. What if I told you that by doing all of that, by trying to be so responsible, you might actually be erasing the progress you just worked so hard for?
It sounds completely counterintuitive, but the data we have in front of us today suggests exactly that. We're looking at a phenomenon that scientists are calling the paradox of optimization.
The paradox of optimization. It sounds like a sci-fi thriller, but it's all about our physiology. So what is the core conflict here?
It's really this tension between short-term relief, what we call comfort, and long-term adaptation, which is, progress.
Right.
We have this stack of research suggesting that the very things that make us feel better in the hour after exercise might be chemically canceling out the signals the body needs to get stronger.
So we're essentially optimizing ourselves out of our own games.
In many cases, yeah, we are silencing the very signal we created.
Okay, let's unpack this. Because I think to understand why something like ice or vitamins could be bad, we first have to understand how the body actually gets fit.
Right.
Because I think most of us just assume the workout is the fitness. I run, therefore I am fitter.
That is the fundamental misconception. The workout isn't the improvement. The workout is actually, it's the demolition. It's damage. You are disrupting homeostasis. You're depleting energy. You're literally micro-tearing your muscle fibers. You're creating a physiological crisis. The improvement happens later strictly as a response to that crisis.
Right. And this brings us to a concept in the notes called hormesis.
Hormesis. It's a fascinating biological principle. It's basically the idea that, what doesn't kill you makes you stronger, but only if the dose is right.
A J-shaped curve.
Exactly, a J-shaped curve. Moderate stress acts as a signal. It tells the body, hey, that was a threat to our survival. We need to reinforce the tendons, build more capillaries, add more muscle protein so that next time it isn't as hard.
That's called supercompensation.
That's supercompensation. It's the body overreacting in a good way.
But for that to happen, the body needs to know it was under attack.
Exactly. And this is the crux of the episode. How does it know? It knows through inflammation and oxidative stress. When you exercise, your mitochondria, the power plants in your cells, are working overtime. And they produce these exhaust fumes called reactive oxygen species, or ROS. For a long time, we just thought these were toxins, metabolic trash that aged us and needed to be flushed out.
Which is why we all drink the antioxidant smoothie.
Right. But the signal transduction hypothesis, which is central to all this research, tells us that these ROS molecules are actually messengers. They are the text message sent to the cell nucleus saying, we are under load. Build more mitochondria, fortify the walls.
So the toxin is actually the order form for the upgrade.
Precisely. If you scrub those messengers away too quickly, the nucleus never gets the memo. You did the work, you suffered through the squats, but you deleted the email confirming the adaptation order.
It's like shooting the messenger before you can even deliver the letter.
Perfectly put.
Okay, so let's look at the first way we accidentally delete that email, the cold plunge. I mean, you cannot open social media without seeing someone sitting in a chest freezer looking all stoic. It's hugely popular.
Yeah. It is. And let's be fair, for pain relief, it works wonders. It numbs the nerves, it constricts blood vessels, and you feel less sore immediately.
Sure.
But if your goal is muscle growth hypertrophy, the science is pretty damning.
You're talking about the Roberts study from 2015.
Yes, that's the one. It's a landmark study. They took participants doing strength training and split them up. One group did active recovery, just some light cycling, keeping the blood moving.
And the other?
The other group did cold water immersion, or CWI, immediately after training.
And the numbers here are just jaw-dropping.
They are. Over the course of the study, the active recovery group gained about 309 grams of muscle mass in the target area.
Okay, 309 grams.
Yeah.
And the cold water group?
Only 103 grams.
That is, oh, wow, that's a massive difference.
I mean, think about that. The cold water group did the exact same workout, put in the exact same effort, lifted the exact same weight, but the ice blunted their muscle growth by roughly 2/3.
That is tragic. If I'm in the gym sweating for an hour, I want all 309 grams. Thank you very much.
Why? Why does the cold do that? Is it just shrinking everything?
In a way, yes, it happens on a few levels. First, the cold constricts blood flow, so you aren't getting amino acids to the muscle when it needs them most. But more importantly, it arrests the cycle of satellite cells.
Satellite cells, those are the muscle stem cells, right?
Exactly. Think of them as the construction crews sleeping on the sidelines of your muscle fibers. When you lift heavy, you create damage that wakes them up.
And they get to work.
They proliferate, fuse to the muscle fiber, and make it bigger. Cold basically puts them back to sleep.
It freezes the construction crew.
Essentially. It also blocks a pathway called P70S6K, which is a key regulator of protein synthesis. So you're stopping the fuel supply and sending the workers home.
Now, does this apply to everyone? I mean, what if I'm a marathon runner? I'm not trying to get swole. I just want to be able to run again tomorrow. That's a vital distinction. The blunting effect is most severe for hypertrophy, for muscle size. For endurance athletes, the data is different.
How so?
Cold water immersion doesn't seem to hurt VO2 max adaptations or mitochondrial density in the same way. In fact, because it reduces perceived fatigue so well, it might actually help a runner handle a higher volume of training without burning out mentally.
So if I'm training for the Tour de France, the ice bath is okay because I just need to survive the mileage.
Generally.
But if I'm training for a bodybuilding show, avoid it like the plague.
It's all about context. Are you trying to build tissue or are you just trying to manage fatigue?
All right, let's move from the bathtub to the medicine cabinet. I mentioned the ibuprofen earlier. I feel like vitamin I ibuprofen is a staple in every gym bag.
It is, and it operates on a similar principle. NSAIDs work by blocking the enzymes that create inflammation. But as we just established, acute inflammation is the builder. It triggers the cleanup crew, the macrophages that start tissue repair.
So if I pop an Advil after a heavy squat session, am I killing my games?
If you are young and healthy, potentially yes. High doses of ibuprofen, we're talking around 1,200 milligrams, have been shown to blunt protein synthesis.
Wow.
But the scariest data was actually on tendons. There was a study on runners where indomethacin, another NSAID, completely abolished collagen synthesis in the patellar tendon after a run.
That is terrifying.
Yeah.
You take it for tendon pain, and it stops the tendon from healing itself.
Precisely. You are masking the pain, but you are chemically preventing the structure from reinforcing itself.
But this is where it gets really fascinating. There's a twist in the notes you sent. The elderly paradox.
Ah, yes, the elderly paradox.
Explain that, because it seems to contradict everything we just said.
Biology is rarely black and white. In older adults, we're talking 65 plus, who suffer from chronic low-grade systemic inflammation, NSAIDs might actually help muscle growth.
Wait, how is that possible?
Well, when you're young, inflammation is a spike. It's a useful signal. But when you're older, sometimes that inflammation button gets stuck in the on position. It becomes chronic. And chronic inflammation is catabolic. It eats away at muscle. So in that specific population, taming the inflammation a little bit actually helps them build.
That is wild. So for a 20-year-old, it's poison for progress. For an 80-year-old, it might be a helper.
Exactly. It depends entirely on your baseline physiology.
Speaking of things we think are always good, let's talk about that healthy antioxidant smoothie. Vitamin C and E.
Yeah.
We've been told since we were kids that antioxidants are the good guys and free radicals are the bad guys.
It's such a powerful marketing narrative. Antioxidants good, free radicals bad.
Yeah.
But the Ristos study really challenged this.
How so?
They looked at insulin sensitivity, so how well your body handles sugar. Usually exercise improves this significantly.
And what happened when they added the vitamins?
In the group taking 1,000 milligrams of vitamin C and 400 IU of vitamin E, that improvement was completely abolished, just gone.
So the supplement made the exercise useless for metabolic health.
In that specific metric, yes. And it goes right back to the mitochondria. Remember, those ROS spikes tell the cell to build more mitochondria biogenesis.
Right.
If you flood the system with high-dose antioxidants, you quench that signal. You put out the fire before the smoke alarm can even go off.
So should I stop eating oranges?
No. Let's be very clear. This applies to high-dose supplementation. An orange or a bell pepper creates a much lower, more complex spike. Whole foods do not seem to have this blunting effect. We are talking about the megadose pills and powders.
Okay, good. Keep the fruit, ditch the megadose powder. So we've bashed cold and pills. Let's pivot to something that actually does seem to work. Let's talk about heat.
Yes, let's warm things up. While cold is a suppressor, heat acts as a mimetic.
A mimetic. What's that?
It mimics exercise. When you sit in a sauna, your heart rate goes up, your blood vessels dilate, you sweat. Physiologically, to your cardiovascular system, it looks a lot like moderate aerobic activity.
I was reading the notes on the Lakanen studies from Finland, and the stats are honestly staggering. It almost sounds too good to be true.
The Finnish data is incredibly robust because they have such a huge sauna culture. They followed over 2,000 men for decades.
And what did they find?
They found that men who used the sauna 4 to 7 times a week had a 50% lower risk of dying from cardiovascular disease compared to those who went once a week.
50%. That is massive. That's better than a lot of drugs.
It is. And even more surprising was the neurological data, a 66% lower risk of dementia and Alzheimer's.
Wow. So what is the heat doing that the cold isn't?
It stimulates heat shock proteins, or HSPs. These are little molecular chaperones. Their job is to patrol the cell and fix damaged proteins.
Okay.
They ensure proteins are folded correctly, and if they find junk, they tag it for recycling. They prevent plaque buildup in the brain and arteries.
So they're like the elite maintenance crew.
Exactly. Plus, heat boosts growth hormone, which is great for retaining muscle and burning fat. And it inhibits FOXO, a pathway that causes muscle atrophy.
So while ice stops the signal, heat seems to amplify it.
Exactly. Heat plus exercise is a synergistic effect. It increases plasma volume, which helps you run longer, and it reinforces the cellular cleanup. So if you have to choose between fire and ice for adaptation, choose fire.
Fire it is. Now, we can't talk about recovery without talking about the foundation. The one thing you can't supplement or biohack your way out of: sleep.
The non-negotiable. If ice and heat are optional, sleep is biological law.
The source material had some scary numbers on this, too.
It did. Sleep deprivation puts the body in a catabolic state, a breakdown state. Just one night of sleep deprivation can reduce muscle protein synthesis by 18%.
So you train hard, stay up all night, and you lose nearly 20% of the benefit.
And hormonally, it's a disaster. It flips your testosterone to cortisol ratio. Testosterone, the builder drops.
Yeah.
Cortisol, the stress hormone spikes. You are chemically signaling your body to store fat and burn muscle.
There was a theory in the notes that I found really trippy, the circuit breaker theory for why we sleep. Can you explain that?
Yeah, this is brand new science. We used to think sleep was mostly for the brain's networks, organizing memories. But this theory suggests it's actually regulated by individual neurons' mitochondria.
Okay.
When you're awake, your brain is burning huge amounts of energy, and the mitochondria get overcharged. They start leaking electrons, creating that oxidative stress, the ROS.
Messengers again?
Yes. And when that oxidative stress gets too high, the mitochondria trigger a shutdown signal sleepiness to prevent the neuron from burning out. It's like a circuit breaker tripping to save the house from an electrical fire.
So sleep is the maintenance period where the brain clears out all that ROS from the day.
That's the idea. It makes sleep feel so much more urgent. It's not just resting, it's preventing a meltdown.
Literally, if you don't sleep, the trash just builds up and the neurons start to sustain damage.
Right.
So bringing this all together, we have listeners who are probably thinking, okay, I have an ice bath, I have ibuprofen, do I just throw them in the trash?
Context is king. This is where we get into strategy, specifically periodization.
Right. Training phase versus competition phase.
You have to ask yourself, what is the goal today? If you are in a training phase, your goal is adaptation. You want to change your body. In this phase, you want to endure the stress.
Embrace the inflammation.
Exactly. No ice, no NSAIDs, no heavy antioxidants. Let it hurt a little because that hurt is the signal to grow.
But I am in the NBA finals.
That is the competition phase. Your goal is performance, not adaptation. You don't care about building muscle for next year. You need to play tomorrow.
Then you use the ice.
Then you use the ice, you use the NSAIDs, you mask the pain and clear the fatigue so you can function. You are trading long-term growth for short-term output.
That makes perfect sense. Optimizing for today versus optimizing for tomorrow.
Exactly.
And what about injuries? The notes mentioned we were moving away from rice rest, ice, compression, elevation. I think we all learned that in middle school gym class.
Rice has been the standard since the 70s, but the guy who coined it actually retracted it later.
No way.
Yeah. The new acronym is Peace and Love.
Peace and love. Very groovy. Break down the love part for us.
So L is for load. You need mechanical stress to align the collagen fibers as they heal. Resting too long makes for weak, disorganized tissue. O is optimism. The brain plays a huge role in pain perception. V is vascularization. You want blood flow cardio to flush the area with nutrients. And E is exercise.
So movement is medicine. Ice just freezes the problem in place.
Precisely. Ice delays the macrophages. It stops the cleanup crew from entering the crash site.
This has been a massive reality check. I think the big takeaway for me is that we are trying to sanitize the struggle out of exercise. We want the gain without the pain, but biologically the pain is the path to the gain.
That's the summary right there. Inflammation is the builder, ice is the pause button, heat is the amplifier, and sleep is the reset.
So to the listener, take a look at your post-workout routine. Are you optimizing away your progress? Maybe skip the cold plunge after leg day, and definitely skip the megadose antioxidant pill.
Let the body do what it evolved to do. It knows how to handle stress better than we give it credit for.
Before we sign off, leave us with one final thought. Something to keep us up at night or actually let us sleep, but something to chew on.
Well, the sources touch on the fact that trainability, how much you respond to exercise, is partly genetic. Some people are high responders and some are non-responders.
Right.
We usually think this is about muscle fibers or lung capacity. But if inflammation is the key signal, I wonder if non-responders are simply people whose bodies naturally suppress inflammation too efficiently.
Oh, that is interesting. Like they have too much internal ibuprofen.
Right. Perhaps the future of elite training isn't just about working harder. Maybe it will be about chemically engineering the perfect inflammatory storm, keeping the signal loud enough for long enough for those people who would otherwise naturally ice their own gains from the inside out.
Engineering the perfect storm. I love it. Thanks for listening to this deep dive. Stay curious, stay inflamed, in the good way, and we'll see you next time.